Hello everybody and welcome to the grain drying presentation. My name is Nathan Olmstead. I'm from Carberry, Manitoba, and I was part of the research team this year.
Hello, everybody. My name is Carter Bodell. I was the analysis manager for this year's SMF teams, and I'm from Ardrossan, Alberta. On this slide here, you can see we have our Frostfighter set up. On the left side is our actual Frostfighter. It's the gray and red machine there. What that machine does is it is a diesel-generated machine that produces heat through those yellow tubes, pushes it into our fan. The temperature at our fans is about 80 degrees Celsius, and by the time it reaches the grain, it's about 50 degrees Celsius. So on this chart here, if you'd like to reference page 4 of the final presentation booklet, just shows our start and finish moisture contents for drying grain. As you can see, the wheat and the canola came down quite a bit. That took quite a bit for that to dry, whereas the barley only had to come down a few percentages. You will find this chart as well on page 4 of the final presentation booklet. This shows how big of a difference it came down to the bushels coming off the field versus after drying. We had quite a big bushel loss just due to shrinkage, drying down the wheat, especially from such a high percentage down to a lower percentage. And this chart reflects that. So for our canola, what we dried was about, it was anywhere between 8 to 15%, with the majority of our seed around 12 to 15% moisture content. And we dried about 10,500 bushels. We turn the bins every 3 days, and we will get more into that later on. But and it took around about 6 days per batch, with 2,000 bushels in each batch. For our barley, it was about 16 to 17% moisture. We actually had to do this kind of set differently. We took this off and around mid-September there, and we dried around 4,500 bushels using just straight aeration, using the heat of the day. So we'd cycle the fans during the day and then turn them off overnight. So about 8 a.m., we'd go out there, turn on the fans, use the heat of the day as our heat source, and then turn them off around 8 p.m. And then that way the cool air doesn't kind of hurt our current drying process. This took about 7 days to do this, and then eventually we got to a point where it's just not warm enough during the days. So we had to actually get our Frostfighter out and start using that to finish it. Once we did that, it took about 5 days to finish up the rest of it. So for our wheat, it was about 16 to 20% moisture. Near the end, we're dealing with some snow and a little bit of rain. So it's getting near 17 to 18 to 20% moisture content. So we had to kind of keep that dry, and we could only dry so much. We had to kind of keep that cool. So for when we did get around to drying it, we did about 2,000 bushels per batch, and it took about 7 days, and we dried all our wheat down to about 12 to 14% moisture content.
So why did we do it in the bin? To start things off, we already owned one Frostfighter, so we figured we might as well put it to use. We had the aeration bins on site, and we could hook our Frostfighter up to them to make it work. We had lots of help and lots of eager students willing to get out there and get some experience and get their hands dirty. And we figured the overall cost of getting our grain custom dried would be more expensive than using our Frostfighters, as well as us having to truck it had we took it somewhere to get it custom dried.
Hello everyone, I'm Dallin McCubbing from Unity, Saskatchewan, and this year I was part of the marketing team. So process of flipping the grain. This year on the farm we rotated the bin every couple of days just to prevent any hot spots in farming. Usually we would flip the bin every 3 days just depending on the moisture content of the grain. And as we were rotating the whole bin, we would take samples just to get a rough idea of what the moisture would be. And another reason why we rotated the whole bin every day was because it provides a more even dry rather than just taking a truckload out and putting it back in. And we would do this in our work teams on our assigned work day after school.
Hi, my name is Harpreet. I'm from North India. I'm a member of analysis team. So the challenges that we have faced this year was balancing study with the farm. This was a bit challenging for every student, especially during the harvesting time, and because we had a lot of assignments and exams to do, so it was a bit challenging for every student. So next was the flipping grains, as Dylan mentioned earlier, that to maintain the quality of the grains and to tracking the drying process so that we can't get hot spots. That was a bit time consuming, especially for the canola, because we dried canola in batches. It took a lot of time and energy. However, in bin number 4, which has capacity 4,000 bushels, that was not producing, the fan was not producing much airflow inside, due to which a significant variation in temperature was absorbed at the bottom and at the top of the bins, which affected the yield, which affected the quality of the canola seeds. As you can see on the left side of the picture, of bin number 4, due to the uneven temperature inside the bin, the due to freezing temperature, also outside the water freeze at the bottom of the bin. By moving forward, due to limited space, especially for the weight, we face this problem because the anticipated yield for wheat was less than the actual yield we got this year. So during the harvesting time, we had to sell some of our wheat grains at low price to make room for other wheat.
Hi everyone, I'm Dalton Lindell from Wynyard, Saskatchewan. I was the finance manager this year. So for the cost of the frost fighters, there was no labor cost with SMF because we do it for SMF hours and that goes towards our grade. It was quite expensive because the amount of grain we had to dry, as Carter showed there, we dried pretty well everything that we got off the field, it seemed like. We were flipping bins after class every day, and that was just time consuming. And the slip tank was filled up once a day or once every couple days for sure. So for the final Frostfighter rental cost for a second Frostfighter, it was $3,400 for nearly 2 months and 53 cents a bushel for drying wheat and 64 cents a bushel for drying canola. And the only difference, or the only reason they're different is because canola has a smaller seed size, so it's harder to push hot air through it.
So over the past few weeks, we've been in contact with a company called Top Grade Ag. They produce a bin monitoring system that helps people with in-bin drying. The monitors not only tell you the temperature of the grain and moisture content inside the bin, but it tells you how much moisture is exiting the bin and how much dry air your aeration fan is putting into the bin. It will help SMF and Top Grade Ag, as well as other producers who are hoping to do in-bin drying, as it gives us all this valuable information. For next year's SMF class, we will be required to collect data and do lots of calibration tests as a way to test the product and help make improvements as Top Grade Ag goes along with getting it out to producers.
Hello, my name is Harmanpreet Singh Bran. I'm from Punjab region, India. And here I'm going to tell that what we would have done differently this year. We might have used custom grain drying. The custom grain drying costs 0.15 to 0.24 cents per bushel, depends upon year to year. but it was not a viable option as it was a quite busy year during harvesting and none of the companies were having extra room for drying our grains. So we were not able to take this option. The next option was to have a batch grain drying system. Batch grain dryer is a type of dryer in which we can just put a batch of grains and for drying and it will just dry all of grains at the same time. But it was not a better option because it's quite expensive and we have to look for college budget and a lot of paperwork to get the batch grain drying system. But we will definitely like to recommend the batch grain dryer for the coming SMF year. And natural gas versus diesel. The natural gas is much cheaper than diesel and it's quite environmental friendly.
We would like to thank everyone for coming in and joining our presentations. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment box and we would be happy to get back to you and answer any of those questions.